What's up guys, welcome back to Finance to Fly. My name is Luke and I'm here to help you elevate your travel while minimizing your spending. Today we're going to be going over the 10 do's and don'ts when it comes to credit cards. So let's jump in. So we're going to rotate from do's to don'ts each time. So first and foremost, do pay your balances on time. Paying your balances on time is important because if you don't, you'll be charged late fees, interest, and the worst part, your credit score is going to get dinged. Just missing one payment can drop your credit score from a very good rating to an okay or even bad rating. Never miss a payment date. Set up auto pay, set a reminder, or even 100 reminders. Just never miss that payment date. Now for rule number 2, the second most important rule when it comes to credit cards is don't buy something you don't have the cash for. This should sound pretty simple, and it is, but because credit cards can give you a large line of credit, 5, 10, 20,000, or even no credit limit like a charge card for Amex, you may feel enticed to spend more than you can. Just don't do this. It's not free money that they're handing out. In fact, they'll be raking in your cash if you do not make a complete payment or you miss a payment just based off the interest and the late fees. So bouncing off that, this brings me to the third most important rule. Do pay your credit card statement in full every single time. The way credit card companies set up their payments allows you to pay the full balance, the statement balance, a minimum payment, and other payment. The full balance is all the balances on your card at the moment. The statement balance is the total amount what you owe before the due date. The minimum payment is what you minimally have to make to get by the due date, and the other is other payment. To give you an example of how this works, your statement closes on the 10th of the month and your payment is due on the 5th of the month. The month prior, so let's say January 11th through February 5th, you spend $200. Because the $200 closed in the prior statement, that will be due on March 5th. You will have an option to pay the complete $200 or just a minimum payment of something like $40. You need to pay the complete $200, or if you only pay the $40, the $160 you have left, the bank will start to charge you anywhere between 20% to 30% APY, which is a lot of money you are losing each month. For example, if you're charged 22% on $100 over a year, you're paying an extra $22 on that $100 charge. Banks make their real money off these high interest loans. So now for my fourth rule, and it's going to be a little weird, but don't pay the card off as soon as the balance appears. I know I say this right after that rule 3 of always paying your balances completely in full. I say this because banks call this credit cycling, and it makes banks cautious of clients that do this. Why? Well, I'm not quite sure, but it has something to do with churning credit card rewards and eventually stopping payments altogether, something in that range. My suggestion is to make 1 payment a month, 2 at the most, and just make sure you pay it off before the due date though. Now for my 5th rule, do keep track of your credit score. It is important to watch this, and this is where you're getting loans, car loans, and mortgages, and other credit cards too. If you open up a ton of credit cards within a few months, say 3, 4, and 6 months, it'll negatively affect your credit score for the time being. If you have a high utilization ratio on your cards, it'll impact your credit score for only a short amount of time. And overall, having a good credit score is something you need to be wary of because it even affects your chance of getting another credit card down the road. Okay, now we're past the top 5. These are going to be more of my suggestions and kind of guidelines on how to properly pick your credit card out and make sure you're doing the best thing for you. So my 6th rule is don't get a credit card just because it's made out of some material like metal. A card's physical appearance does not mean anything and could end up causing you to sign up for a card you don't know what you're getting yourself into with. Yes, it might be cool and shiny and heavy, and it might make a nice sound when you hit it on the table, but nearly every card out there is made up of metal. I mean, I have over 10 credit cards, and I think at least 7 of them are metal. And I think there was 2 product changes throughout the last year or so that made more metal. Not only is it not important, it does not impress anyone when you drop your metal card on the table. It does not give you a special social status having a special card. What I prefer personally is knowing in the back of my head I'm getting the best spending multiplier category. And I'm going to make a quick side note on that. There are 2 instances where I'd say you get some of that social respect from having a credit card. The first is the Amex Centurion card. That's the black one all the famous people have, and the second one is the JP Morgan Reserve, which is similar to the Amex Centurion but just for Chase Bank. Both of these cards are incredibly hard to obtain and require a lot of money and spend a year. So yes, I'd give those a little bit of social credit. So moving on to the 7th rule, which bounces off the material one, do know what credit card is best for you. Similar to the material rule, don't get a card just because you want to get it or because a friend has it and they're offering you a sign-up bonus. Understand why you're getting it, the sign-up bonus, the multipliers, the purchase and travel protections, and understand what you're paying for it. The annual fee, the opportunity cost of holding a different card that has a lower annual fee and a lower earnings rates. Now for my 8th rule. Don't close a newly opened card within 1 year of opening. This will blackball you from that bank. This can mean they don't accept any of your future credit card applications, loan applications, they take away your sign-up bonus, close off all your other accounts. If you have a card where you don't want to pay the annual fee again, say you got the Amex Platinum because you got a really nice sign-up bonus, your annual fee is coming up in a month, just wait for that annual fee to post, then call and cancel. Don't cancel within the first year. Just make sure your annual fee posts. Call them up, they'll refund your annual fee, maybe even give you a retention offer. Just don't close your card within the first year. Banks do not like that. And now for number 9, when you sign up for a card, do make sure you're looking for the largest sign-up bonus and not just a link your friend sent you. A lot of times, card issuers will have different sign-up bonuses going on for the same amount of spend. Maximize your rewards. Don't sign up for the Amex Gold at a 60,000 point sign-up bonus because your friend gave you the link and it was pretty easy just to click right there. Go find the 90,000 point sign-up bonus and enjoy those extra 30,000 points or minimum $300. You are leaving money on the table if you are not getting the largest sign-up bonus, and most of the time, if not all, using your friend's referral bonus will still count to the combination of both your bonuses being less than the larger bonus. I can give you a quick example for the Amex Gold. If you were to take their referral link, they'd get 60,000 points and you get 10,000 points normally. Getting the 90,000 points as bonus is more than those 60 plus 10. Simple as that. And now for rule number 10. When it comes to the credit card game, the thing that people love are redeeming your points for high cost travel. This could be you cutting down a $15,000 first class plane ticket down to the cost of the points and the taxes and fees, or it's as little as knocking a few bucks off a hotel bill. Either way, rule number 10 is don't expect to get high value point redemptions easily. Getting that once in a lifetime first class redemption or a free night stay in an overwater villa will take time for you to learn the game and earn the points required for those purchases. But in the end, that's what makes this game fun. Finding and booking a travel experience on points should feel rewarding because in a way you aren't paying for the large costs for the trip. And it really doesn't matter how much you value or how expensive the travel was you are redeeming for the points. The only thing that matters is that you're happy with your redemption. So in the end, what do you think? Did I miss anything? What are your thoughts? What's been your most memorable redemption? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you could hit that like and subscribe button, it'd be greatly appreciated. Until next time, have a great day.